but today. So there's a lot of coaches in this industry.
Yes, there are.
Some have sold, some have not. Some understand, some do not. Some are in it for themselves, and some are in it for others. This man that I've got to be friends with over the years, Tony Caliendo, he runs reTHINK coaching. And I asked him to come on today because he is one of those coaches who actually gives a crap about his clients, gives, and just an amazing resource. Tony, are you available, sir?
Hey there, Brian. Good to see you.
Hey, Tony. How you doing? Russ will be back in just a little bit, my man.
Take it away, guys.
All right. Hey, friend. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So we got to see you in action at EXPCon talking about NLP. And you and I got to talking, and I was like, you got to come on and share some of this stuff with everybody. So you run reTHINK Coaching. I love your little sign in the background there that always makes me smile. And we were talking about the head trash we have as individuals. And so I wanted to start, first of all, do you want to give your background real quick so people have a sense of who you are?
Sure. Real quick, CNN version. Was in a corporate world for a very long time with Marriott hotels, and then switched over to real estate and started real estate in 2001. So I practiced real estate through 2009, and then went into leadership, and then went into coaching. So I've been coaching real estate agents now for over 14 years full time. And I'm licensed in 3 different states, Texas, California, and New Mexico. I still practice a little bit of real estate. It doesn't ever leave you when you've practiced at a high level. And so I still enjoy that part of it. But my passion really is helping agents achieve whatever goal that they want to have. I think if anybody wants to be successful in real estate, I want to help them achieve that. So that's basically what I've done. And a big focus on our coaching and my coaching has been through the lens of NLP.
Yeah, and you're being modest. You've also coached coaches and understand coaching at a high level. So let's talk about the head trash thing, because there's this concept, and I've talked about it on BAM before, of negativity bias and how that can impact our perceptions. And that's not the only head trash we walk around with as agents, but right. That is. So would you mind sharing a little bit about negativity bias and how it impacts us as agents?
Yeah, I think it's a great question right now. There's so many external things happening in our world that we can get caught up in it, and it can elicit different emotions or feelings or energy around what your perceived story is. And so head trash happens quickly. You hear something and it will trigger in you a reaction or a response. Your brain really wants to go to work quickly to create a story around it so you can comprehend the thought or the information that you just heard and are taking in. And, Brian, I look at it and I think, I love the fact that we have a choice. It's a choice to what we allow in and then what we do with it once it comes in. Yet the basic of it is, if I'm in a head trash space at 8 o'clock in the morning and on my calendar at 9 o'clock is to call my database, those two things are not, the head trash part's not going to support my success in talking to database, because that energy precedes you in everything you do. And that head trash energy is going to join me on every call that I make to people in my database, or if I'm calling FSBOs, expireds, whatever that might be. And a lot of it happens on an unconscious level. And I think that's really important for us to understand as well, is that we process about 60,000 thoughts a day. And 80% of those thoughts are negative. So they're floating around. And if you buy into the head trash and you assign it a negative connotation, it really does have a tremendous impact on you.
Yeah. It's interesting too. I was talking with a group of agents last Friday, and what I shared with them was, when you're having those negative thoughts, here's something you can do. You can just make those pups in your head say positive things.
Yes.
You can just think those positive things. And what I said to them is, if that sounds new agey and woo-woo to you, it's not. Because friends, you're already doing it. You're already making up that crap in your head. It's just you happen to be making up negative stuff.
Yeah.
So when it comes to our mindset, then in lead generation and in sales, you and I talked about the model of thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Can you share a little bit about that and how we as agents can use that kind of framework?
Yeah, 100%. And Brian, I think it's really important, the success formula that we've leaned into for a long time at Rethink Coaching is it's business strategies and thought strategies. It's not one without the other. If you practice one and ignore the other, you're going to hit a goal ceiling over and over and over. You'll hear people say, I had the same year this year as I did last year. And it's that marriage of business strategy and thought strategy. So the thought flow model that we use, the circumstance, thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. And I think we have a slide. I'm hoping somebody can pop up. There we go. This is the flow of the impact that we can have and experience if we have trash thoughts in our head or negative thoughts, negative energy. And so this model works beautifully for positioning us to perform at a really high level and to actually generate the results that we're looking for. So if we just take it through, and we've heard this model before, but I really want to focus on a couple elements of this model that will make a huge difference for everybody who wants to change their results, is something happens. So something external, a circumstance happens, and that's going to create a thought, or like I said earlier, your brain creates a story to process that. And that thought or that story is going to produce feelings, emotions, and energy. Those will generate whether you take action or don't take action. And they also will generate an impact on the action that you take. And those actions or inactions are the things that cause the results. What we really need to pay attention to is the A line, the action inaction line. Most of us, so let's just say you and I have a goal and we're shy of hitting that goal.
Okay.
So agent is shy on their goal for the month. Typically what we do is we focus on the action line only. I'll just call 20 more people. I'll just do 2 more open houses. I'll just do more. I'll just do more. I'll just do more.
It didn't work last time, Tony, but it'll work this time.
Exactly. So let me just do some more of that. And I always joke with my clients that more wears off around 5 p.m. that night, because in the moment that you're excited about doing 20 more calls or 2 more open houses, you haven't cleaned up the thoughts and the feelings that are happening before the action line. And so until you do, we're going to get the same result. And so just what you said, if I am going to do the same thing over expecting a different result, that's not going to happen. So when we can spend time saying, okay, I didn't take this action, or I failed at this action. What was the feeling, emotion, energy I was experiencing? What was the thought that created that? What's the external circumstance? And we start reframing. I can't change the external, usually. I can change my thought on it. It's like you said, if I'm having a negative thought, I can reframe that thought to be an empowering thought, which is going to trickle down to feeling, energy, emotion, which will trickle down to action and results. So it's really important not to default to, I'll just do more. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Or if it works, it's short term.
And listen, I know there's people at home right now going, man, this sounds really woo-woo. And, some people kind of cringe at affirmations and things like that. Carl Jung had probably one of the most profound quotes I've ever heard on this topic, which was, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will continue to control our lives and we will call it fate. Right. Your thought processes are a biological thing that happens because of the way your brain is wired. And until you take the time to go in and rewire those brain pathways, you're going to continue in the same mental pathways. It's a rut that we get into.
It is. And Brian, what's interesting about that quote and about what you're saying, affirmations are great. If you don't change thoughts, that your brain's going to be like, hey, Brian, that was really cute. That affirmation you just said is real cute, but here's what's really going on. And so they're in conflict with each other. So if you want to make affirmations work for you, change your thoughts and feelings. That will empower that affirmation to a whole different level for you and will set you up for greater success.
I like that. Hey, can I switch gears on you?
Sure.
Because you are probably one of the most knowledgeable persons I know about NLP. And you heard Russ in his opening talk about this. It was unscheduled, by the way. I don't think Russ knew what you and I were going to talk about. So I'm curious, would you mind sharing about neuro linguistic programming and things like downswings and upswings in conversations, and how we can use these concepts as real estate professionals?
Yeah, absolutely. There's three key elements really that can make you win with clients at a high level, and it's in the conversation. So people only hear 25% of the words that you say, and we want to make those words be specific words be the words that they hear. So we want to focus and know that. So to move the client forward, there's three techniques: downswings, embedded commands, and tie downs that can have you win at a higher level and a quicker level with your client. Russ talked about it a little bit, the upswing. At the end of our sentence, if we have an upswing, so, Brian, are you ready to list with me? And I go up, that doesn't sound very confident. And it lands, the client hears a sense of doubt or uncertainty. Versus if we just say, are you ready to list with me? That's just a more confident, and it lands completely differently in how the client will hear it. And so a couple tricks, Brian, you don't want to do this in person, but if you're doing lead gen, your voice always follows your hand. And so if you're really working on upswing, downswings, if you really want to work on your downswing, just use your hand. I don't know how or why it works, but it does. And when I would do presentations in front of clients, I would just use my 3 fingers on the side of my leg just to get into that habit of doing the downswing. Rarely do you want to intentionally do an upswing. Rarely. You might want to do it if you want to, you wouldn't consider selling this on your own, would you? That's an upswing. You want to create doubt. Primarily, we want to focus on the downswing part. And we as Americans are programmed to have an upswing, especially if we're asking a question.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're taught that. We just are. And so if you're reading something and you're working on mastering this downswing part, which you should, remove the question mark and just make it a statement. So remove the question mark, make it a period, and it will trick your brain into letting go of that natural tendency to do upswing. So downswings are really important to position you in a place of confidence and certainty with the person you're speaking to. Yeah. The other, I think, bigger piece is the tie down. I think we've all experienced where you're having a conversation with somebody that's going great, and all of a sudden you felt it slip. You feel the person retreat a little bit, or maybe they're a little more hesitant. And in a sales conversation, the more you can get the other person to say yes, the greater your chances of winning are going to be. And so a tie down is used at the end of the sentence to get the person to say yes. If I can get them to say yes again a couple of times, they will re-engage in the conversation at a higher level. So you do want to do the right thing, don't you? Well, nobody's going to say, no, I don't want to do the right thing, right? So they'll say yes. And that's just the pattern. We're looking to get them to say yes a couple of times, then you can just move back into your conversation. Yeah. And the third element is an embedded command. And that's quite simply before I would go on a sales call, and now I do sales calls as a coach, I set the intention. What's the intention that I want to achieve in this conversation with Brian? And I want him to sign a contract. So sign a contract is the embedded command that I want to use. And so in my conversation with you, I would use, when you sign the contract, we'll begin working on your goals immediately. A little pause before and after. Remember the 25% of which you say is only heard? The little pause before and after jostles your brain as the receiver to listen to sign the contract. So those are little tricks that you can put into your conversation that will increase your conversion while you're having those conversations with clients.
Yeah, I always think of those pauses as pattern interrupts, right? When somebody's talking and then they don't complete the rest of the sentence, it jostles your mind to kind of pay attention. And the next thing they hear is that embedded command. And I don't know if it was before the 80s with Valley Girls in Valley Girl Talk, But this country as a whole, there's a huge population of people who speak in that upswing just normally. That's their
Yes.
pattern. That's how they talk. And for those of you, I not no value judgments one way or another, but it does work against you in sales, right?
It really does.
Yeah, and if you aren't certain, or how often you do it, record yourself, record your presentations. That's why we do things like role play, so that we
Yes.
make sure that the words we use, and it's funny, words we use absolutely matter. And I was talking with Tony King today. We're working on fast attract, which is exactly what it sounds like fast cap, but for attraction, right? And we were debating words. I'm a big believer in owning language, and making the words mean what you want them to mean. I don't like things like recruit. Nobody aspires to be a recruit, right? But we were talking, and what I said was, if somebody calls me Irish American, cool. If somebody calls me Patty, not cool. And so the words we use and the sequence that we use and how we say those words do matter very much. And you and I were talking about this with scripting, because it's something that some people just rebel at. What do you think about? How do you coach people when it comes to scripts?
That's a great question. Scripts, I believe, have a place. For me, a script will help you understand the rhythm or the flow of a listing appointment or a buyer appointment, especially if you're newer or you're not converting at such a high level. The thing about scripts that I am challenged with is if it takes up space in your head, that while you're talking with the client, you're so consumed with, did I say that? Did I follow it exactly? And you're so worried about the words you're saying, you're missing a lot of opportunity of hearing what the client would be saying. And I think the hazard with the script is if it doesn't go exactly as the script said it would, you don't really know what to do because they went off script. And so the value in the script for me is learning the flow of how the call should go. And there's no magic. The magic in the script are the three things we talked about: tie downs, embedded commands, and downswings. That's what makes a script work. And so I'm not opposed to, especially as a newer agent, to use a script. I just feel like it's not always your language or your words that you're comfortable speaking. And it can come across as you're inauthentic with the person you're having the conversation with. So I have a love-hate relationship with scripts.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of think of them like GPS, right? So especially if you use Waze is really good about course correcting in the middle of things,
Yes.
right? It says, here's where we're going to go. And you can see the turns and twists before we even get going in the car, right? But somewhere along the way, there's going to be traffic. There's going to be, an accident. There's going to be something that happens that we're going to need to reroute. And we got to be paying attention to that GPS, right? We got to be paying attention to the conversation. I think of them as just dialogues is what I really feel are more impactful, right? This is the purpose behind a dialogue. This is where we want the conversation to go. Now, how we get there, there are going to be moments that are highly scripted, right? To your point about using things like embedded commands and tie downs. But then the rest of the conversation is going to be fluid, but you better know the direction you're trying to take that conversation and what the most likely routes of success are going to be, and be able to adjust on the fly. I think that really, for me, is about script mastery. So, my friend, you have a program coming up, your reTHINK Rise program. When is that?
So it's a 6-week program, and what it does, Brian, it's a powerful program to help agents do a little bit more about what we talked about today. It's 6 live group coaching calls, so 1 a week. And we have the 6 modules are going to take you on a journey, help you to identify one specific goal that you've been looking to achieve. And maybe it's, eluded you for a while. Identify that goal, work on the thoughts, feelings, actions, results that are stopping you from achieving that goal. Explore resistance, what has been in the past, maybe the activity that you've been resisting. Go into, positioning you to play to win versus playing not to lose on this category, changing your mind from a scarcity to an abundant mindset. So it really walks you through this journey to achieve the one goal that you pick. That goal might be to sell more homes. It might be to find balance in life. It might be to add a team member. It might be to disband a team. You get to choose what that goal is for yourself. So it's normally $897. I'm making an offer today because I really appreciate people who will invest in themselves and showed up for this call or watching this call I'm recording. Is a special promotional price for the attendees of $497. And they just need to scan the QR code and it'll save them a seat. I'll reach out to them and give them the discount code that they can enroll with. And the next program starts March 13th, and it will be 11 a.m. Central for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah. And by the way, this is not an EXP thing. I know Tony, I believe in Tony. And if you got value out of today's call, just wait until you go into that program. You will absolutely love it. As always, thank you. Always appreciate you coming and sharing your wisdom with us. And I want to get you back next time because we're going to dig in deeper on the language of sales and what it really takes to be a professional salesperson and guide the conversation the way that you really need to guide the conversation and be a great fiduciary for your clients. But that's next time.
Next time. I look forward to it.
My friend. All right. Happy Friday to you, buddy.
Take care.
All right.
All right, Russ.
Thank you very much. Guys, I didn't even know. I must have been channeling Tony there for a minute when I started today.
Right?
Good stuff.
When you learn it works, use it.
That's right, man. That's right.
All right.
Well,
guys,
thanks for having us.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
All right. There you go. So Tony knocking it out of the park. Yeah, it's like this. Like start here, guys. Start here. If you start here and you move it to here, stuff happens. It's just the way it works. Okay. So try it. Try it for the next 30 days. If you don't want, it doesn't work, get your money back. I'll give you double back what you paid me.